London will be extending its ultra-low emission zones, or ULEZ, to cover all of Greater London this August. This means that older, higher polluting vehicles will pay a tax or a fine of £12.50 a day to enter these zones. Obviously this hasn't gone down very well with a lot of residents and those that are already struggling with the cost of living crisis. But what's the greater good again? The greater good. Let's try to be objective here then and look at some facts. Why try to improve London's air pollution? According to the World Health Organization guidance, every outer London borough exceeds the safe limit for toxic air particles. Outer London has the greatest number of premature deaths from air pollution. It is also home to over half of the 500,000 Londoners who live with asthma and are more vulnerable to the impacts of toxic air. Delaying by even a year puts thousands more Londoners at risk of having their lives cut short. That's why London Mayor Sadiq Khan of the Labour Party has said they can't afford to wait any longer to implement this. How many Londoners will be affected by the ULEZ expansion? The ULEZ is a very targeted scheme and only affects a small minority of drivers. Around 200,000 out of the 2.3 million vehicles seen driving in London on an average day are non-compliant. In outer London, 9 out of 10 cars and 8 out of 10 vans seen driving on an average day already meet the ULEZ standards, so those drivers will not have to pay the charge. You can check whether your vehicle meets the ULEZ standards using Transport for London's online vehicle checker. All petrol cars and vans registered new from 2006 and diesel cars and vans from 2016 will meet the ULEZ standards. I did a quick check to see if my previous 2 cars would have passed. Despite them being a little bit sporty with twin exhausts, turbocharged and very thirsty cars, they would still be fine driving around London today. Indeed, even my old 2005 Vauxhall Astra Estate passed with flying colours. So this really is aimed at very high polluting, much older vehicles. ULEZ exemptions will also be in place until 2025 for community transport vehicles and until 2027 for people receiving certain disability benefits and vehicles for people with disabilities. Every single Londoner benefits from the cleaner air that ULEZ brings. The current zone has already improved the air for 4 million Londoners in inner and central London. The expansion to outer London will bring cleaner air to a further 5 million Londoners, or at least so it says here. Other UK clear air zones, or CAZ. There's already quite a few clean air zones in the UK, and thankfully any town or city running a CAZ has the same compliance standards in place. Minimum vehicle requirements are motorcycles that meet Euro 3 standard, for cars, vans, taxis, Euro 4 for petrol vehicles and Euro 6 for diesel engines need to be met. Buses, coaches and HGVs need to meet Euro V1, and of course electric vehicles are automatically compliant as they do not emit emissions. When was this announced? Despite this seeming to come out of the blue, or out of the grey I suppose, the Mayor of London announced this ULEZ expansion plan at the end of November 2022, giving people 9 months notice of this coming change. Let's look at some positives then, shall we? There is a £110 million scrappage scheme available to some people who meet certain criteria, which can give anything from £1,000 to £5,000 towards a ULEZ compliant vehicle. According to london.go.gov, the current ULEZ has contributed to almost 50% reduction in toxic nitrogen dioxide pollution in central London. It's achieved 5 times faster reduction of pollution in London than the rest of the UK between 2016 and 2020, and over 1 million hospital admissions apparently averted by 2050. The bigger picture then is that it will improve the health of millions of Londoners. Supposedly 4,000 Londoners die prematurely each year due to the toxic air. Now let's look at some negatives. Used car prices have risen. Inflation is at a 40-year high and the cost of living crisis is still taking its toll on lots of citizens. This will yet again hit those hardest who are already in a desperate situation, and it's for those who I really feel for. Timing is pretty tough to do this year amongst the cost of living crisis, but as we've been told, there's apparently no time to waste in protecting the health of London citizens. Let me look at some controversial thoughts. No mention of aviation here. The constant stream of jet engines flying over London raining down pollution. Perhaps the aviation industry should take some responsibility and pay fines whenever they travel over places of residency. What do you think of that? And then there's the reality of brake dust from the majority of vehicles, except electric cars that barely use brakes due to regenerative braking. As I mentioned in last week's video, Is London Doomed? Card in the corner if you want to watch that. PM2.5 is tiny particulate matter which is found in an abundance in the underground tube train network. as decades of tiny iron-rich brake dust particulates get blown around and inhaled by millions of people every day. Our bodies eliminate most of the larger particles we inhale, however smaller particles like PM 2.5 continue to the lungs and can give the lungs and heart serious health consequences. My point here being, I guess, there is a lot of contributing factors to air pollution. Whilst I agree that it certainly makes sense to get the most polluting vehicles off the roads, I share a concern that a lot of people are voicing right now. Poorer drivers are being hit the most by the widening of the low emission zone. 17% of Londoners are already financially struggling to make ends meet and going without essentials or relying on debt according to recent polls. Could anything more be done to help those that need it most? Let me know if you've got any ideas. Too much or not enough? Some clean air campaigners think the mayor is not going far enough, while City Hall Conservatives have highlighted an independent assessment that says the ULEZ expansion will result in a minor reduction in NO2 pollution exposure of just 1.3%. If that's really the case, might this be an utter waste of time, money and stress? I certainly hope as we go into the future and air pollution continues to get monitored in London that the expansion of the ULEZ zone shows some seriously beneficial cleaner air results. I'd love to know, are you for or against this measure? Is this the future for other towns and cities in the UK and around the world? Do you think the government really cares about the health of Londoners whilst giving new oil and gas projects the green light, and after our government has subsidised fossil fuel companies by almost £80 billion since 2015? I'd love to hear what you think in the comments below. Do check out my other videos right here and here, and if you haven't yet, please support my little channel by leaving a like on this video and subscribing and hitting that little bell button so you'll get a notification of new videos from me. It's usually a bit more Tesla centric, I'll be honest. I haven't even mentioned the word Tesla in this, have I? Apart from right now. I'm Will, this is the Tesla Jigsaw, thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.